decision of Bill to not re-offer and to retire in the next election. But however, we are nominating and will be campaigning on the new boundaries. And without any further ado, it's my honor to introduce Daryl Dexter.
Good evening, friends, and thank you very much for joining us here this evening to help nominate, as was said, our NDP candidate for Timberlea-Prospect. This area has now for, well, almost exactly 15 years been an NDP seat, and that credit goes very much to my dear friend and colleague, Bill Estabrooks. Notes here, and I'm not going to believe this because I'm not going to turn the page. So in the notes it just says, insert your own stuff about Bill. And I want you to know that if I actually did that, this would take a very long time this evening. I know we don't have it, but I want to go back to that time just before this this riding was represented by Bill, and because it's been a long time, I know for many of you, you may not even remember a time when this constituency wasn't represented by him. But Bill had run, as you probably know, in elections before he got elected, and the party, being the party that we are, we insist on fair nomination meetings, and even though people have run before, that doesn't guarantee that they get a nomination again. So we go out and we do candidate search. So I was the chair of the election planning committee. I had been in that position for a while, and part of my job was to make sure that the nomination committees and the ridings were getting out and they were searching for candidates. So and this is kind of a compilation of people. So if any of you remember any of this conversation, it's not meant to represent any one person because it was a number of different conversations. I'm kind of melding them together. But I remember phoning out to Timberlea-Prospect and talking to some of the people and saying, well, you know, you have to have a candidate search. Process. And they said, yes. Well, this is Bill's riding. And I said, yeah, but there's a process. You actually have to go out and look for candidates. And they said, yeah, Bill's going to run again. And I said, no, you don't understand. You actually have to go out. You have to ask people whether or not they want to run. And we've got a process. And you got to go through it. And so after a while, they just kind of acknowledged that that was the case. So I phoned back a few weeks later and said, how's the candidate search process going? They said, yeah, Bill's running. I said, well, have you done a candidate search? And they said, yeah, Bill said he'll do it. You know, through all that, they were absolutely right, because Bill did do it. And the thing that I will recall, which I think made him such an extraordinary member of the House of Assembly, was just the fact that he never ever gave up campaigning. He always understood that the people in this riding and the people of Nova Scotia wanted somebody that in between elections didn't forget about them. He was on the doorsteps, he was participating. If there was an auction in Timberlea-Prospect, Bill was the auctioneer. If there was a community event going on, Bill was the MC. If there was any neighborhood that had a problem, Bill was there. Always there. He was the constant in political life. He was the constant in community life. He was the constant in these neighborhoods. People, and this, I was saying this earlier, you know, for most people in this province, life is still a struggle. They're still trying to make it from paycheck to paycheck. They're still trying to make sure that they have enough money to make sure their kids get what they need, and that they can pay the mortgage at the end of the month, and that they can look after their parents, and so that they can, you know, provide a little bit of dignity for their own lives and for the people they love. And Bill always understood that. He always understood that they wanted to be heard by the person who represented them. And they wanted to know that when their representative went to the House of Assembly, they were reflecting the cares, the concerns, they were reflecting the challenges and the dreams that they had. And that is what made Bill such an extraordinary member of the House of Assembly. And I know that Linda will carry on that great tradition. And she's going to have the opportunity over the next little while to work with Bill and to learn. And what a great privilege that is, to be able to learn from a guy who has been there for this many years, carrying out that work and representing the party as a standard bearer for all of those things that we hold to be part of the proud tradition of the NDP in Nova Scotia. So Bill, my thanks again, and I'm going to miss you, pal. You know, when Bill told me he wasn't going to run again, he said something that I will never forget. He said, you know, I feel like I'm letting you down. He said, you know, I'm an old jock, and as long as I could go out on the ice, he said, if you called my name, I'd be off the bench, and I'd be out there with you. And I said, Bill, you have my word. You not letting anyone down. You left everything on the ice, always did, always will. I know you're not going far away, and I know that you're going to help Linda and continue to be a big part of this community. But we'll miss you, pal. It was great. Of course, I've had the privilege of knowing Linda for quite a long time as well, and I know that she will work very, very hard. She's going to need your support now if we want to continue to make life better for the people of this province. We're going to continue to make life better for Nova Scotians. You know, I want to be frank with you. Over the last number of years, last 4 years, it's been tough in government. And next time, we're going to have to work even harder than we did before, because the last election was about change. Because for more than 140 years, two parties had gone in and out of government. They seesawed back and forth. They burdened the province with debt. They perpetuated slow economic growth. And they created an exodus of the best and brightest of our province to other parts of Canada. So on June 9th, 2009, we put an end to all that when Nova Scotia voted for a better deal. The next election needs to be about what kind of a future you want for your family, for your parents, for your children, for your friends. I believe that the measure of any society is determined by how we take care of each other, how we look after our seniors, how we look after our children, how we look after our neighbors. Our government, our NDP government, believes that Nova Scotia has the ability, has the resources, has the determination, and has the compassion to build a better tomorrow. And we believe that we can build a better tomorrow by taking care of our seniors, by educating our children, by training our workforce for the jobs of tomorrow. As the Democrats, we carry with us the values of hope, of optimism, and of compassion. They are the values that we take to work every day. They are the moral compass by which we make the choices that we make. Now, I want you to know, being in government's a tough job. And I appreciate every single moment of it. Because it was people like you that put me and Bill and all the rest of our colleagues in the position where we were able to make choices to help make life better for Nova Scotians. Choices like removing the HST from home energy. We're hiring more teachers for classrooms that need them and putting a greater focus on fundamentals like reading and math. It was the NDP that fixed the province's finances and put us back on a sustainable path. And it's the NDP that is addressing Nova Scotia's ER crisis. 4 years ago, our opponents said the problem with rural ERs was too big to deal with. They said, look, it is the same
right across the country. Nobody has an answer. In short, they had given up. Our government said that the right to health care means access to care, emergency care, when and where you need it. The NDP refused to accept that there was no answer. And with the help of community health care workers, with doctors like John Ross, community leaders, your Minister of Health, we invented something called the Collaborative Emergency Center, or CECs as they have become known. And today, families in rural communities get the care they need when and where they need it. Families without a doctor now have access to same-day or next-day medical appointments. Friends, you, by helping elect a member in this riding, made that happen. Our opponents continue to criticize CECs, even though other provinces have adopted this model. I don't know if you recall this, but this summer I had the privilege of chairing the Council of the Federation. All of the premiers of the country came to Halifax, and one in particular, in front of the National News Gallery, came out and said, you know, I've gone out and I've had a look at these CECs, and I'm gonna steal it. I'm going to steal it and take it back to my province. And his province is Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, the home of Medicare, where Tommy Douglas founded the principles of public health care. I can only think to myself how proud Tommy Douglas would be to see Saskatchewan coming to Nova Scotia to learn about how to improve medical care for the people of rural communities. So as New Democrats, we're very proud of this innovative solution to a problem that no other government was able to solve. And yet the Liberals tell us that if they were elected, they would do away with it. Now, you know, it's been a long time since the Liberals have been in power. Back then, I don't know if you can recall, because thankfully it has been a long time, but if you can recall, at the time they campaigned, they said that they were going to bring health reform to the province. They said that they were going to take money out of administration and put it into frontline health care, and a lot of people felt that sounded pretty good. So then they invented the regional health authorities. They closed 1,500 hospital beds. They paid 1,000 nurses to leave the profession. And friends, if you listen to them closely in the House of Assembly, now they say they want to do it again. Their answer is to pour more into the broken system instead of trying to fix it, trying to increase the capacity of the medical care system to deal with an aging population. In fact, the Liberal leader actually worked against the opening of the CEC in his own community. And the fact of the matter is that Nova Scotians don't know much about Mr. McNeil. All we really know is that the Liberals have one clear position. Whatever the government proposes, they are against it. Friends, by nominating candidates like Linda, we're fielding a team that will provide genuine leadership for families, for seniors, and for children. We're working to make life better for families, and we will consider every new idea to accomplish that goal. It was the NDP who created this solution, and it is leading the country in innovation in healthcare. And it is the NDP who led the charge for better, more affordable care for seniors. Today's seniors represent a generation of people who worked their entire lives to build this province. They turned the wheels of the economy, they put down roots, they raised their families here, and yes, they paid the taxes that built the social safety net that we have. Yet under previous governments, seniors were forced to pay all of their life savings for long-term care. This created an unfair financial burden for them and for their families. I remember when we started raising this in the legislature, because I knew it was wrong. In fact, all the members of our caucus knew it was wrong. Our party knew it was wrong. And of course, Nova Scotians did too. And that's why in opposition, the NDP campaigned with the support of thousands of Nova Scotians to fix the situation. And friends, today, seniors and their families are better off because of it. We're continuing to add more long-term care beds, and we have significantly expanded our home care services so that seniors can live their lives with dignity. We put nurse practitioners and paramedics into long-term care facilities so that seniors can get the care that they needed without having to leave their homes. And because of you, and because of the work that you have done over those years to support Bill, and the work that you will do to support Linda, we'll continue with these kinds of innovations. You know, because of you, there are 18,000 low-income seniors who no longer pay income tax. They also saved millions of dollars because we removed the HST off of home energy. That's a simple step that made a real difference for families. And yet during the last leaders' debate, the Liberal leader turned to me at one point in the debate, and we were talking about taking the HST off of home energy, and he said, "No, this is bad, bad public policy." I don't know if I got that right. I don't really get his voice right. It was bad, bad public policy. So apparently, lower power bills is bad, bad public policy. I don't know if you know this, but in 2008, Mr. McNeil actually voted to put the HST back on electricity. He supported the MacDonald government when they put the HST back on home energy. Friends, it's not all the decisions that we've had to make have been easy. Collectively, we've had to work hard through difficult times to try and grow the economy and protect and generate jobs. Now, both of the opposition leaders, Mr. Bailey and Mr. McNeil, have said they wouldn't make investments to support these kinds of good jobs. They would risk tens of thousands of jobs that Nova Scotian workers competed for and earned. The simple fact is that I believe they care only about one job, their own. And they will do whatever it takes. They will set aside the best interests of families, the best interests of workers to get what they want. I believe that young people who moved away should have the opportunity to come home. The province has made smart investments to help bring good jobs here, jobs that could have gone anywhere. But we brought them here to Nova Scotia. And this matters to Nova Scotians. It matters to workers who earn a paycheck to support their families. It matters to parents who want their kids to be able to get a job in the community that they grew up in. It matters because they want to be able to see their grandkids grow up here. It matters because this is our home, and we need to work collectively to make it the best it can possibly be. By working together, friends, we turned the tide on a $1.4 billion deficit. The province put an end to wasteful March Madness spending. You remember that? 3 successive budgets. The Conservatives spent more than $300 million unbudgeted, more than $1 billion over 3 years. We, on the other hand, had to deal with significant revenue shortfalls. I just want to give you one really brief example. In the last year, 2009, the last year of the Conservative government, the Tory government received $452 million in offshore royalties. And they built social programs, they built healthcare and education programs on that revenue. And we wanted to see improvements too, but the reality is that much of what they did was not productive. This year, the province will receive $25 million in offshore royalties. $427 million less than the Conservatives received in their last year. That means before we could do one new thing, we had to backfill $427 million worth of revenue. With Nova Scotians' feedback and support, we've worked hard to make good choices, to make the right choices for the people of this province. And by working together, we will keep the commitment to balance the budget this spring. This will be done while protecting the programs and services that families and seniors need and depend on. And I believe that in nominating Linda here tonight, we are preparing for a better future. Together we can keep the province moving in the right direction, because we will keep the R's open. We will do more to help seniors live with the dignity they deserve. We will invest more in primary to grade 12 classrooms to prepare students for a better future. We will give young people better access to skills and apprenticeship programs. We'll keep investing in businesses that are committed to creating good jobs here at home. And we will do what it takes to live within our means and to keep the budget balanced. Nova Scotia is starting to turn the corner. So let's continue to work together and ensure a better deal and a brighter future for our seniors, for our children, for our families. Because together, we can do it. Together, we will do it. Because friends, the future starts here. Thank you very much.
Now I wish I'd gone first. So, as you've heard, this is all new to all of us. So even though I've been in politics, I'm usually on that side. So, I'm really excited and honored to be here, and I'm really glad to see everybody here and so many young people. That's really exciting, because this is what it's about. It's about making sure that we do what we need for our children and our grandchildren. Tom and I chose Timberlea. We found a community where everybody says hello. Now it depends on where you are in this constituency, because if you're down in the rural end, they'll nod at you when you go by. Whereas here, everybody just says hi. So, ours is a community where we watch out for our neighbors, a community where we are surrounded by nature, and a community where our family has always felt welcome. We have wonderful communities everywhere from Shad Bay to Prospect, Timberlea, Hubli, and everything in between. I know the very best of our communities are the people who are here, like Bernalda Ross and her son who were here earlier tonight and couldn't stay. Bill from Hubli, Rhonda Judge from Prospect, somewhere here, way in the corner. Kimberly and Paul, who are new members with us from Timberlea, and Dale, who's come back on board after taking a bit of a hiatus for the last couple of years. All people who care deeply about what we do and what the NDP does. Bill has worked hard, and we all know this, for the people of Timberlea-Prospect since 1998 in his own unique way. I've known Bill for 8 years and have always admired his work ethic, his integrity, the way he represents us every day, and I've had the good fortune to see that working beside him. He's been a strong voice for us, his constituents, but also for all Nova Scotians. I watched proudly when Bill took politics out of the road paving with our province's first-year, 5-year paving plan. That makes a difference. People know now when their roads are going to be paved, and it's not about politics. I also shared your sadness when we learned that he would not run in this next election. I want to honor and continue Bill's good work, to make sure that we continue to move Nova Scotia forward. I look forward to becoming his student, one of thousands in this community, I assure you. But I will be a willing student. This government's brought us better care sooner, healthcare solutions that are working. The other parties couldn't do it. Our opponents are also talking about taking us back to the days of outrageous residential power rates. And I have to tell you, I moved into my first apartment in 1977, so I remember when the Liberals raised power rates by 47% that year. Now they're talking about importing it from Hydro-Quebec. Really? They're going to put the HST back on home energy. You'll see an immediate increase of 10% on your power bill. Not going to happen, because we're going to keep the NDP here. The NDP will continue to help you with your heating costs by continuing to remove the HST from home heating and by providing support through our HARP and Efficiency Nova Scotia. And now we have the Maritime Link. That's going to give us the lowest, fairest rates for the next 30 years. That's going to make a difference. The NDP faced the challenge of fewer students in our education system. We met that challenge. Money's now being spent where it's needed most. It's in the classroom. This government is investing more money per student than ever before. The NDP has started to fix Nova Scotia's Student Assistance Program, and I'm saying start because we can't do enough for our students. We're keeping tuition levels below the national average, and we created the province's first debt cap, so students aren't coming out with outrageous debt. Under previous governments, it was the worst program in the country. We've increased funding for training, adding hundreds, if not thousands, of new seats in our community colleges right across this province. All of this in readiness for taking advantage of the job opportunities that we have on our horizon. Every Nova Scotian who wants a job deserves to have a job here at home. If we don't invest in these jobs coming here, they're going to go elsewhere. And for the first time in decades, business is coming here. Good jobs, engineering jobs, shipbuilding jobs. For every new job that we help create, it means that another one of our young people doesn't have to leave, or one can come home. I have a son who's in Timmins right now. I'd love for him to come home. One of my proudest moments with the NDP was at a hearing just before Christmas. And it was a high school student, and Becky can tell you a bit of the story too. She came to testify at a Law Amendments Committee meeting. Who knows high school students who will do that? She was remarkable. She told us that for over 200 years, generation after generation, her family had worked and raised their families in Shelburne. She told us she always knew that she would have to leave until this government started making changes. Until this government started investing in the Shelburne shipyard, in the Birchtown Center, Cook aquaculture, and the offshore oil exploration. Now she knows she can stay home. It emphasized to me a clear understanding that our Premier knows what it takes to bring good jobs here to Nova Scotia. He's making it happen, and he's going to continue to make it happen. I'm proud of our Premier for his foresight, his fortitude in the face of opposition, and determination to bring about an economic shift like we haven't seen in decades. An economic shift that means our children and grandchildren can have a future here in Nova Scotia. At the same time, we've turned the tide on the $1.4 billion deficit while dealing with the biggest recession since the Great Depression. That's a lot of sessions in there. The NDP will keep its commitment in early April when we present a balanced budget that protects important services and programs. Timberlea-Prospect is a great place to live, raise a family, and retire. I need your help to make sure that Timberlea-Prospect continues to be a great family community where our NDP government works to support us every day. There's a couple of areas that I want to continue to work on. I want to continue to work to improve our human rights in this province. I was proud to work with the Minister of Justice and with the Premier on the grant of free pardon for Viola Desmond. I will continue to work for the elimination of racism and to increase protections for our vulnerable communities. And one of those communities may need our help. We are fortunate to have the historic community of Beachville within our boundaries. It's one of the oldest African Nova Scotian communities, and it was settled by refugee slaves from the War of 1812. And right now they're being encroached upon by developers. The descendants of Beach Hill need your support to help make sure that the unmarked graves along the baptismal path of the Beachville Baptist Church remain undisturbed, respected, and protected. I am asking you to join me in doing what we need to do to protect our historically and culturally significant African Nova Scotian communities. I'm also committed to our plan for parks and protected lands, and so proud that our government has exceeded its goal of 12%. Nova Scotia has now reached 13%, second only to British Columbia in Canada. One of those protected areas in Timberlea is the Bluffs. I've hiked there. It is extraordinary. Can't wait to get back out there. We need to ensure that these lands remain protected. This is about our children and our grandchildren's future. This is about our future. Bill has left very big shoes to fill. My feet aren't that big. But I'm ready to take on the challenge with your help, and I need your help to do this. We must keep Nova Scotia moving forward. We cannot go back. We must continue to create education and training opportunities and good jobs for every Nova Scotian who wants to work here. We must ensure that health care is available for all who need it. We must support our seniors and help them live with the dignity that they deserve. And we must continue to live within our means. It's an important part of what we do. Bill Estabrooks' legacy is all of those things, and so much more. We cannot let the Liberals and the Tories take away from the work that Bill has done in our community. I'm asking you to join with me, vote NDP, and let's keep Nova Scotia moving forward.
Ask Bill to say a few words.
Okay.
Get your voice.
A few words, Wilson. You've never heard me say a few words. When you're in the legislature and it's your turn, you get an hour. So Tom, set the clock. I want to thank you for being here. Gerald Dexter says it all the time. This is not a Bill Estabrooks seat. It's not an NDP seat. this seat belongs to the people of Timberlea-Prospect. I know Denise has heard it said in her community. I know David Wilson, who's here, and Becky, of course, is doing the same thing. We have to remember, we have to work to get the privilege to be able to serve the people of this community. We cannot take that for granted. However, I will tell you, I challenge you to match me when it comes to putting up the most signs. In fact, today I was offered, David, a man wanted to buy my truck. And I said to him, come see me after the next election. Because my truck is the sign truck for this election. It's a great opportunity. I've met and talked to people interested in politics for a long time. Dan, I thank you for a great speech. Right? I was going to get a reply. Thank Becky for taking some time to talk about the nuts and bolts of something that Madeline, I'm sorry, young Madeline, not here. I was going to say young 20 pounds lighter Daryl Dexter. So I'm not going to say anything more except for the fact we're in for a challenge, we're in for a scrap, but that's what it's all about. I challenge you to get involved, and let's make sure Linda is the MLA in Timberlea-Prospect for the next 15 years.
Yeah.